Welcome to another explainer. So, have you ever noticed how almost every single office argument starts with the exact same sentence? Seriously, think about your own workspace for a sec. Whether it's the middle of summer or the dead of winter, the tension always begins with someone making a very specific, very desperate plea.
Can someone please lower the AC? Oh yeah, it's a tale as old as modern office spaces. You've got one person desperately fanning themselves with a file folder, practically begging for a blast of Arctic air. But as we see time and time again, this plea is inevitably followed by a completely opposite, instant reaction from across the room.
It's already freezing, and right there, someone else is huddled in their chair, literally clutching a hot cup of tea like it's a lifeline. We've all been there, right? But here is the truly fascinating part. This relatable thermostat war isn't just about personal preference or someone being picky. It's actually a deeply complex interplay of human biology, building engineering, and corporate economics.
Okay, let's dive into this. The core thesis here is that fighting a tiny temperature discrepancy actively drains your cognitive energy. A mere 2 to 3 degrees Celsius difference, it's not just a minor annoyance. It measurably impacts how well you think, how quickly you work, your overall health, your ability to collaborate, and absolutely, the company's monthly electricity bill. To understand why, we need to look inward first.
Think of your brain kind of like a high-powered computer. It's generating heat continuously as it processes information, solves problems, and navigates your workday. To keep that computer running optimally without crashing, your body works tirelessly to maintain an ideal internal baseline of exactly 37 degrees Celsius. If your environment throws that baseline off, your body has to divert vital energy away from your work and redirect it toward regulating your temperature. Let's paint a picture of what that looks like on the hot end of the spectrum. Imagine your office hits a sweltering 29 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, your body goes into absolute overdrive trying to cool you down. Blood flow rapidly shifts towards your skin and you start sweating. And because your body is so incredibly busy trying to manage that heat, your mental alertness just plummets. Your brain simply doesn't have the spare bandwidth to solve complex work problems when it's desperately trying to act as an internal air conditioner. But what happens on the flip side? Say the office drops to 19 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, people aren't necessarily sleepy, but man, are they distracted. You'll see folks donning winter jackets indoors, rubbing their hands together just to generate friction, and constantly getting up from their desks to grab hot coffee. They're spending all their mental energy just trying to stay warm. Cold fingers physically reduce typing speed, and muscles become tense and unrelaxed. When you stack these two extremes up against each other, you see how both scenarios absolutely wreck mental performance. When it's too hot, you're dealing with fatigue, slower thinking, increased typing errors, and declining memory. When it's too cold, you get distraction, constant complaining, and literal physical slowness. This rapid cognitive decline is exactly why places where focus is life or death, like data centers, control rooms, and trading floors, maintain tightly, strictly controlled climates. They literally cannot afford the errors that come with being too hot or too cold. So, where's the perfect middle ground? Well, research consistently points to a productivity sweet spot right between 22 and 25 degrees Celsius. This is where most office work hits its stride because the body isn't fighting the environment. However, there is a major catch. Reaching this sweet spot relies on several hidden variables that we're about to peel back. Because the number you see on the wall, it's only part of the story.
Before we move ahead, facility management is evolving fast. Subscribe to stay future-ready and smash that like button if this video gave you a new perspective.
Here's the twist. The thermostat is actually lying to you. Modern HVAC systems don't just aim for cold. They aim for a holistic metric called thermal comfort. This is the crucial, delicate balance of temperature, humidity, air movement, and indoor air quality. If you're only looking at the temperature, you're missing 3/4 of the puzzle. Let's explore how these other factors trick our bodies. And this brilliantly illustrates why the exact same temperature can feel drastically different. Imagine two identical workspaces, both sitting at 24 degrees Celsius, but Office A has 80% humidity, while Office B is at 50% humidity. Most people will find Office B perfectly comfortable, but Office A, it's going to feel sticky, sluggish, and way warmer than 24 degrees. Why? Because high humidity stops your sweat from evaporating into the air, which completely breaks your body's natural cooling mechanism.
But wait, you can't just strip all the moisture out of the air either. The other extreme of very low humidity brings its own set of biological annoyances. We're talking dry eyes, dry skin, sore throats, and a massive increase in static electricity shocks. This proves exactly why facility managers have to control moisture in the air just as carefully as they control the heat. It's a highly sensitive balancing act.
Now, let's reveal the next hidden variable, air quality. Have you ever been in a room that felt perfectly cool but somehow still felt incredibly stuffy? That is almost always due to high CO2 levels from poor ventilation. When there isn't enough fresh air circulating, CO2 builds up as people breathe, and that directly causes drowsiness, headaches, and a severe drop in decision-making ability. You might blame the temperature, but your brain is actually just starving for fresh air.
Let's zoom out to the entire building's perspective for a moment. When you look at an office layout, you quickly realize why spaces simply cannot be uniformly cooled. A server room? Yeah, that needs to be freezing to protect the tech. But a crowded meeting room needs sudden bursts of cooling to counteract all that grouped human body heat. Meanwhile, a cafeteria needs aggressive ventilation because of cooking. Buildings literally have to be divided into specific zones to handle these unique human and technological heat loads.
And managing all these different zones, that brings us to the economics of it all. Facility managers face a massive financial burden every single day. Lowering the thermostat by just 1 degree Celsius significantly jacks up energy consumption because chillers and pumps have to work so much harder. Facility managers are constantly walking a tightrope, trying to balance your comfort against massive energy bills, corporate sustainability goals, and protecting the lifespan of some very expensive equipment.
This whole complex balancing act actually explains some pretty funny office phenomena. Like, if you've ever had to bring a heavy winter parka to work during a blazing hot summer in India, you are definitely not alone. This happens because the outdoor heat is so extreme that contrast inside feels super shocking. Plus, the HVAC systems are overcompensating, running at maximum capacity to handle those peak outdoor heat loads and fluctuating occupancy. The system is just trying to maintain stability, but it often results in severe overcooling. Fortunately, we're no longer relying on dumb thermostats to fix this. Enter the smart solution to this 2 to 3 degree mystery: Modern Building Management Systems, or BMS. Instead of running on fixed, inefficient schedules, these modern marvels use a whole network of sensors to continuously monitor live conditions. We're talking temperature, humidity, exact occupancy, CO2 levels, and even the outdoor weather and time of day.
Let's see how this builds into a seamless automated workflow. When a BMS is running, it dynamically responds to the environment in real time. First, it automatically reduces cooling in empty zones to save power. Next, it detects a crowded meeting room and instantly pumps in more fresh air to keep that CO2 down. And finally, it continuously adjusts temperatures based on live occupancy patterns. It perfectly tunes the environment on the fly, saving immense amounts of energy while keeping the workforce perfectly comfortable.
So let's summarize why this all matters to the bottom line. An uncomfortable office breeds impatience, low satisfaction, and basically forces employees to take more breaks just to cope. But an optimized office? That leads to better concentration, far fewer errors, and even lower absenteeism. Thermal comfort is not just a luxury perk, folks. It is an absolutely critical driver of the overall employee experience and ultimately company profitability.
Which brings us to the ultimate question you should take away from this explainer today. Next time you sit down at your desk, I want you to ask yourself, is your office's thermostat helping your brain work, or is it forcing your brain to fight the climate? Understanding the hidden science of thermal comfort might just change the way you view and argue about the AC forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.